Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. Every Tuesday, we want to inspire you to be the best you can be as a mortgage professional. And we want to help you become a modern mortgage professional, which means you're a great leader, you deliver great advice, and you know how to use today's social media to be the most well-known professional in your market. So today's call is going to be totally dedicated to new loan officers. If you are a new loan officer, you are in the right place. If you are a mentor to new loan officers, or you want to be a mentor and leader to new loan officers, you're in the right place. We want to make this as collaborative as you guys want to make it. So put your questions and comments in chat, whether you're watching this on Zoom or Facebook. Also, I want to call out a study guide, I'd call it. I put a link to the marketing. I will put a link in a minute here. It's my LinkedIn New Loan Officer Playbook. Now I call it mine because I wrote it and organized it, but really the people that are on this call, I built it around conversations I've had with them. And then also people that aren't on this call, successful loan officers, mentors. So, but it is a study guide, and we'll probably even be updating it because we'll probably learn some new things today. So myself and Deborah are going to be leading it as, the host and moderators. What's up, Deborah Byrd?
What's up, everybody?
So Deborah, thanks for making so much time to bring your coaching and your leadership into the mortgage coach community. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Dave Gallegos, we don't get you that often, but I consider David one of the best mentors to new loan officers. A number of mortgage coach red belts that also do over 100 million. I think Giuseppe does over 200 million. People that he brought into the business that had no experience are now doing a lot of business. And he's created a program where he mentors a lot of loan officers. But Dave Gallegos, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it should be fun. And then the next two gentlemen I'm going to introduce, they're both new loan officer success stories. And they're now at a point where, hey, I made it. I've got a successful, sustainable mortgage practice, and I'm mentoring and helping new loan officers. I'll bring in Sosi first, just because he's got the most seniority in the mortgage coach community and has been a loan officer for how many years now are you going on?
This is almost my fifth, so 4.5 so far.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This is your fifth year. And how are you doing, Sosi? Are you going to break 100 million this year?
We're getting freaking close, so we're going to see. It's going to come down to the wire at the end.
Well, dude, you've got an amazing career ahead of you, and then you've done amazing things in the past. And most important, guys, he's a mortgage coach red belt. He's done over 1,000 TCAs. As our other new loan officer success story, we've got Alex Cook, who joined the mortgage business in 2020, closed over 100 loans in his first year, using a combination of local, grassroots, organic, connecting with people. And he also spent some money on Facebook and just blew it up, became one of the most well-known loan officers on Facebook in the market that he serves. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dave.
Yeah, and a lot of folks, if you're a new loan officer, he also did a presentation in the Modern Mortgage Summit. It didn't play live because I got it like the day before the event or a couple days before, but it is in the recording. So if you log in, at the very top, there's a whole 18-minute presentation that Alex gave, because he's kind of going from, hey, mortgage coach was a key part of my story, and now I want to build out a framework. So Alex, would you at least frame what you did in your keynote and also kind of frame where you're at in your growth as a mortgage professional?
Yeah, so you kind of asked me to detail, how to launch a loan officer quickly, which is actually a good exercise for me, because it forced me to think about the things that, the key elements. There's so many things I learned from the mortgage coach community, and I probably threw about 100 different things, whether it be scripts and ideas and tips at, my first year in the business. But to boil it down to, I tried to keep it to 5, but I think it ended up being 7 items that you could give to any new loan officer to kind of fast track them. So yeah, that's what I went over. I finally boiled it down to just 7 that were effective, and kind of ripped off of some of yours too, Dave, which you had a great LinkedIn article. So appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, well, like I said, it came from conversations with you, Sosi, David, and dozens of other successful loan officers, new loan officers, and dozens of successful mentors. So, but I want you to be, not right now, but be ready to unpack those 7 things.
Mhm.
So we're going to make that part of the dialogue. Dave Gallegos, let's go to you first. What you've onboarded a lot of loan officers. What do you think are the most important characteristics to hiring a new loan officer? When you think of the attributes of the people that make it, you hire them and they make it. What are those key attributes that you find in successful new loan officers?
I have it written down, so let me grab it. The biggest, so I sales test everybody now. I didn't used to do this. So I sales test everyone. I always say that I can't, you have to have your own ambition and drive. I can't give it to you. So if you're not, and it's, this business represents so much opportunity, and it's easy to get excited about that opportunity, but not everybody has the drive and the energy that I think it takes. I can inspire you. That's my job, is to help inspire you, I believe, and to paint the picture and to get you to think about the things that really ought to be important to everybody in their lives when it comes to their professional careers and their personal lives as well. But then the ambition and drive is all on you. So that's the thing that we sales test for now. And we're using from the book, the Psychology of Sales Call Reluctance. There's a test that you can have people take that really will identify, are you going to prospect, right? And what I've had people take that test, come back to me who don't perform well, and I'll just say, so how do you think you did? And their response is like, I don't think I should be in sales. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't. So, because sales is a tough job. If you're not successful, it's a horrible job. In fact, because driving home after working all day and not getting any business or not making any progress, it's a terrible feeling. And so I don't want anybody to experience that. So I'm making sure that I load the deck or stack the deck and make sure that I'm getting people that are going to hustle and perform. And we look for people that are obviously coachable, driven, and ambitious, strong desire to succeed. We've had just really good success. People that at some level in high school or college, or even personally, they do something competitive. Team sports are a plus for that. We have a lot of success there. Now, that said, I've got some successful people that don't fit any of those molds that are really successful. So that's where we start. We're looking for those people that, and then can see the long-term payoff of all the hard work that it's going to take, because it does take hard work, but they're willing to put in the work. And I always say, like, the payoff is here. Like, if you do what we teach, the payoff is real. This isn't like you got to work at a job for years and hope you get promoted and hope you get a raise and maybe get passed over. And that's not how this business works. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, no doubt. You get what you hunt and
Right.
what you create for yourself, and it's all in your hands. Deborah, any follow-up questions for David, or any comments to what he just said?
No, I'm really excited to dive deep into this and kind of hear the other people on the call too, kind of get everyone's perspective on this playbook and look at some TCA examples and rock and roll.
Right on, right on. Well, before we just get into tactics, I want to make sure, if you're new, you kind of know the most important keys to success. And if you're a mentor, make sure you pick the right people. So real quick, let's not spend more than 5 minutes on this, but anything you want to add to that, Sosi, that you think is important to someone even coming into the business, any attributes or things that you think are important, and then we'll get into tactics.
Yeah, I would say for any even new team leads, right, that are looking at bringing on new loan officers, one of the things that I saw early on in my hiring experience was I need to get out of the way in regards to the hiring process, because I was too personally involved, right? I found myself selling my team and why they would want to work with me more than trying to identify and hear them sell themselves. And so I made some mistakes on the hires by being too involved. And so one of the things that we do is we do a panel interview. I'll meet with the person, see if I like them as a human being. And then before anybody actually gets provided any, intent letter or anything like that, we always do a panel interview so that everyone is in agreement, from ops staff to support to whatever, so that we don't make bad hires, because we all know that the best time to fire somebody is before you even bring them on.
Boom. Well said. Alex, anything to add?
Yeah. So I made a couple missteps early on, and one that I won't make again, and it was by chasing numbers. So if there's going to be a chapter in my book someday, it's going to be called "Screw the Numbers," or if you want it to be more child friendly, "Forget the Numbers." But basically, I found somebody who was lightning in a bottle, and they didn't have very good support with the team that they were on. I actually knew how to solve their problems because they have, if you look at their DISC assessment, which I make everybody do a DISC assessment up front, they were very similar to me. And I was like, hey, I can help you. I know how to do this. So I plugged them into the system, not thinking at all about the core values. Like, did they fit our core values? Is this somebody who their heart is aligned with our mission? And I didn't think about any of that because honestly, I was just so excited about the fact that this person was putting up good numbers, and I could even help them put up better numbers and solve their problem by putting them in a nice system with a great team with a lot of support. And what it ended up doing was, I'm still friends with this person to this day. It's like it's not like a bad breakup or anything, but it was like one of these things is not like the other, and it didn't fit, and it threw off our team chemistry, stressed out my LOAs. Actually, one ended up leaving kind of over it just because it was just a very humbling moment for me where, as a new branch manager, I was thinking I just need some help with the numbers, so I'm not the only one that is supporting the ops. And I will never do that again. So I had to take a step back, and, I talked to Pete Metz, my mentor, and he's like, dude, I got to tell you, every single person that I've ever onboarded from somebody else has left me. And he's like, all of the people that I have now that are super loyal to me, I brought into the industry. And I know that it's not as, and that's not everybody's strategy, but to be honest with you, after being burnt by this whole experience, that's probably going to be my strategy. Now, if somebody comes along that it is putting up good numbers and is really experienced and they fit the core values, that's going to be my big thing. Like, nobody gets through the front door without meeting the 5 core values of who we are. Because if you don't fit in the family, it doesn't really matter what your numbers are. So yeah, I learned that the hard way, but some good came from it.
Love it. Well, everybody, that is the truth. What he just said, it always works like that. And I think all of us have been through that story the hard way. And the most successful teams are the ones that they're really thoughtful about who they bring into the team, clear on standards and values, and then, they manage it over time. So let's get
Dave, real quick, what this reminds me of is Coach Carvel's, y'all's interview that y'all did where he talked about going for character, and it kind of aligns with Alex with talking. I always think of a triangle when you're hiring. Usually we hire off of skills, and we'll fire off of attitude, because you can have all the skills in the world, but with the wrong attitude, you can get a lot more performance out of someone who doesn't have the skill, like what Alex was saying, but has the want to. So I think of the triangle of looking at skills. Do they have the right skill set? And including with that is attitude, which I have an assessment that I like to use that it looks at skills, but it will also, so it's not the DISC, but it will measure the cognitive ability, the behavioral ability, and then the want to. So it has like 3 different departments. But then the next angle on the triangle would be job fit. Do they fit, the job? And then the last one is the core values, because you could have someone with the want to and the skills, but if you don't have a values alignment, that's going to create conflict over and over and over. So not everyone can be like the mortgage nerd and just clone yourself and recruit your twin out of teaching and bring them into the business. But that was a talk she gave. I think you were there, Dave, for that sales mastery. You were the judge for the Mortgage Idol, where they asked her what was her one tip for new loan officers. And she said, spend a lot of money and clone yourself. But anyways, I just wanted to add to Alex, because I think that's a really good point at looking at core values. And, when those don't align, that's with any relationship. It creates tension and friction and conflict for a long time.
So guys, she was referencing this interview we did with Coach Carvel, who took his D1 hockey team, UMass, from last place to winning the national championship in 5 years. Great interview. He also spoke in the Modern Mortgage Summit. And anyways, we'll put a link down below to a few of those things. So really good point there. So guys, let's dedicate the rest of this 45 minutes that we have together, just giving, like, if a loan officer wants to fast track theirself, what are like 2 key concepts? And Dave, why don't we start with you? And then let's just, everybody's talk for 2 minutes. Let's unpack some of the most important things to fast tracking the success of a new loan officer. So Dave, thoughts?
Well, you know that we have them build a list of 150 names before they start, and then add 150 names to it over their first 2 months of training. The first 2 months is all training. And to break down that list, I don't expect them to know 300 people that are going to buy homes or need to refinance. But I know there's 50 people, the best 50 on that list are obvious people that they know they're going to do business with them. The next 100 or so, probably, I think they would do business with me. I'm not sure, but they know me and I know them. And then the last 150 is like, I don't even know if they know me, but I know who they are and I want to talk to them. So, and then the first thing that they're doing as they pick up the phone after 60 days of training is just making connections with all of those people. And, we do this is, it's a mortgage coach call. So I'm a big believer in, about the power of mortgage coach. So I want them addicted to mortgage coach. So I incent them. There's a bonus that they can earn by doing 20 total cost analysis every 30 days. I want them addicted to that tool. And I know that the faster they do them, the better they'll get. And then I know the reaction that their customers have when they see a total cost analysis. The reaction is so powerful that it reinforces the value of it. So, and then it's just asking your friends to help you. That's all this is. I mean, you're calling people who know you and you know them. And it's just like, hey, will you help me out? I have to build this company I'm working for. They just invested 320 hours in training me. And now I'm so excited. I can't wait to start showing people how the mortgage business works. Will you help me? I just need to build, if you're a renter, let me do a rent versus own analysis for you. Can you help me out? And, if you got people that are, not everybody's going to say yes, but I think that I want you to do 20 a month. You can get 20 people a month that say yes to that, or 20 people a month to say, yeah, let me do a move up analysis, or yeah, let me build a total cost analysis for you. And there's so many strategic, that's a tactical move, but there's so many strategic opportunities when you get somebody's mortgage statement. There's so many strategic opportunities when you get a renter to let you do a move up analysis. So there's just, so that's it. This is, Dave, Tim Brahim's famous, the one with the most friends wins, right? So it's just connect and stay connected. So that's it. That's my.
I want to connect that, guys. So that is step 4 in the online LinkedIn new loan officer playbook. So, it looks like this at the top. There's a link in chat. Step 1 is have a plan and build your list. Dave calls that out. I got that from Dave. And, learn the basics. I think, Dave, it 30 days is when you start having them call and you start having them do TCAs.
It's 60 days.
60 days. Oh, I gotta adjust that from 30 to 60.
Yeah.
And then guys, we put those scripts. So, what's the script when you call someone who's renting? What's the script when you call one of the 300 that's a homeowner? So that's here in the thing. So first of all, Alex, any comments or questions around?
Let me just real quick before Alex goes. I had one of the guys who's here that did this. It's funny because we're bringing a lot of newer people in. So I have guys that have been in the program and they're like, oh my God, this is so cool. One of them talked about, his name's Casey. Casey talked about how he goes, yeah, I was calling ex-girlfriends of my friends. They barely knew me. And I said, how did that work? Because he was sharing how he launched his business with the newer people. And he said, I've gotten like 5 deals from one of these gals who barely knew me. And it's just because, and he connected with her on Facebook because he didn't have her phone number, but he's like, I didn't care. And I didn't care if people I called, this is really important because everybody thinks, oh, it's hard to just call people and ask. It's like, well, okay, but if you don't call them, the answer is no. And if you do call them and the answer is no, who cares? You didn't know them now. So just move on. And I think we get too often, newer people can get hung up on, well, I don't know what they're going to say. It's like, you don't know him that well, so who cares? But like he's got an ex-girlfriend of a friend he goes, I got 5 loans from knowing her and the referrals. He goes, I've done 5 loans for her. And that's hilarious to me.
I love that quote. Every new loan officer out there, write it down. If you don't call someone on that list, the answer is no 100% of the time. And if you do call them, you're going to get some yeses. So I love that. Alex, any comments you have from what David just said, or any edits to that you are going to deploy with your new hires?
Yeah, no, I love Dave's kind of new LO launch plan. I actually called him probably a month or 2 ago and tried to pick his brain, because I have a really young kid that's started off with me, passed the exam, and it's just harder because he's not, he's right out of high school almost, and so it's just a different playbook for him. And Dave gave me some good tips there, but just sticking to the scripts, asking. It's so harmless to ask for practice on a friend or family member. I mean, nobody's so heartless they're going to say no. And to be honest with you, one of the things I've been doing also with my new LOs is having them go ahead of time. And this is something that I kind of accidentally stumbled into myself, I guess, is it's a lot easier. We all know that realtors get tired of people, just loan officers asking for business, right? And so we're all trying to find new ways to create value. Or Jeremy Forcier has the 5 questions to ask realtors. And one of the things that I think is smart to do is, before you're even licensed, and before you've even taken the exam, is to just reach out to them in a very soft way and say, hey, this is something that I'm gonna do. Once I get licensed, would you want to, meet? Would you want to talk? Would you want to work together? And I think it's a lot less threatening to ask them before you're licensed, because they all kind of want to be a part of your story. They all want to see you win, assuming that you know them in some kind of way. And then once you do get licensed, you kind of reach out and they've already said yes. So I just think that's kind of a nice way to go about it too, because they feel like they're a part of your story. They're kind of endeared to you, and they actually kind of want to help you out. So, but yeah, I love Dave's plan. For him, he was 19. This particular kid I'm talking about now, so he couldn't even come up with 100. But he did have, I think, with them being 19, Facebook isn't even very popular for them. So I think he only had like 700 friends on there, but he's hitting Instagram and Snapchat and using the scripts, and it's working. He's doing TCAs and getting some refis. Even had a new purchase the other day. So,
Hey, Sosi, anything you want to ask Dave, or anything you want to say to that?
No, I just want to affirm Dave's strategy. I think, there's no point in reinventing the wheel, and I can't think of a better way and more effective way to help people get at bats. And for anybody who's new, when I first came in, I was looking for, the guide. I was like, okay, where's that thing that I can read and I can know everything about loans, so that when the client asks me that random question, I don't have to go, hold on, let me find out, right? And I was trying to find this easy way to gain experience, but there's only one way to gain experience. And Dave does such a phenomenal job of putting together their strategy that gives somebody at bats in a comfortable context. And so, I think that is super key. Dave, good plan there, Ben.
Thanks. Thank you.
Deborah,
Another strategy another guy used, I was just thinking, like, what else did people do? He had his wife post something on Facebook. Hey, my husband's company has started using a new software. Can you send us your mortgage statements? He got like 20 of them. He got like 20 mortgage statements from his wife's circle of influence. That's hilarious to me.
It's so easy, so simple, guys. So everybody, let's put that into practice today. And if you have some success with it and your wife sends it out, put a comment down below. Let us know how that post works. So let's.
Hey, Dave, I was going to just add to that as they're making their calls with those 150 people, I think it's important. Obviously, I'm sure they're learning, put that in a CRM, but every touch is a gateway where during that conversation, you could even post this on, social media or different HOA groups, but if one of your friends just got married, who was your wedding planner? Who was your photographer? Look for different gateways of other trusted advisors within that person's network that you can leverage their trust to grow your pillars of other possible business referrals from, it could be preschools, it could be OBGYNs, it could be the financial planners, the divorce attorneys. So sometimes it's not only just calling to say, hey, would you send me your mortgage statement and be willing to allow me to practice doing a TCA, but also who do you know that I should know, so to speak, and leverage those gateways to add more people to your CRM, that then when you build out campaigns to nurture those partnerships, that's all potential referrals and just good relationship networking. And again, you need a strategy and be intentional with how you then follow up with those people. But I think don't just limit to the one-to-one, ask who else they can introduce you to.
So I want to make sure when you read the playbook, you don't miss this, and new in your career, you adopt this habit. So, this is Jeremy Forcier's script where he finds that his highest conversion lead source is someone that's in process with him, that he intentionally asks for a referral when they say thank you. And it really is just a habit, installing this habit so that literally when you're talking to a client, they're in process, they get clear to close, they get approval and they say thank you. He's got a very specific way where he, asks them for for a lead. And it's pretty much very simple. So make sure you listen to that, because it's an important habit all new loan officers should get.
Just listen to that this morning, Dave. That is a phenomenal 5 minute. That is like 5 minutes of pure gold. And to Deborah's point, there's so many strategic things that you can do, but especially when you're new, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the things you can do. So, but to Deborah's point, like, what are the 4 or 5 things that you want to make sure happen every single connection? And you'll continue to get better at that. It's just, there's so much, especially in this community, there's so much great information. It can be overwhelming. And so we recommend, like, keep it simple. What are you going to do? These are the 5 things that I want you to accomplish with every phone call, right? You own a home. So who was your real estate agent? Would you use them again? How would you rate them? Is it okay if I call them? For sure. Like, you got to have that conversation, because it's a layup conversation. They have a house. They know a realtor. So this is a layup conversation for anybody. And it doesn't matter how well you know this. So there's just, Deborah, that's a great point, because there's so many opportunities in every transaction and in every connection, and it's easy to overlook them.
Hey, Gallegos, just for scripting, I know you're a master at it. To Deborah's idea, I can't wait to see you put a script together about how to ask somebody who their OBGYN is. And
Please make sure you don't ask the males that question.
But on a serious note, there was a
Forcier needs to come up. We need to get Forcier to come up with that.
You can do a challenge.
I love the heart of that piece. I think that was right on, Deb. I would throw in as well, one of the questions that was asked in the chat was, how do you do this with realtors? What's a type of script? And I think, Dave, you and I at our last interview talked about the weekend warrior piece, right? It was that aspect of getting a bag of goodies, identifying some agents that are doing open houses in the places you want to be in or with the people you want to be with, and just going over there and putting a TCA together, going over there for about an hour or so, introducing yourself, giving them whatever materials you have, but just trying to connect on a human level. I learned how to speak to realtors so well through that. And then I believe I learned a lot from Jeremy Forcier's scripting on what he did, saying, hey, I'm looking for a house for one of my pre-approved buyers. And he had a fantastic whole scripting around that, which helped me a lot a few years back.
Yeah, guys, there's a whole Jeremy Forcier sales playbook. So he is one of those mortgage coach professionals that really knows how to teach, train, and entertain at the same time. So make sure you check those out. And we also have a whole script playlist. So for all you new loan officers, that was one thing I personally believe, that first of all, to be a successful human being in anything, you need to put positive content into your head every single day. I'm still spending an hour a day putting personal development content into my head. If I was a mortgage professional, I'd be watching a mortgage coach YouTube channel. Maybe not every single day. Maybe when you're brand new, you're doing 30 minutes a day, but you should be doing 30 minutes to an hour a week on the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So I would love to hear from you guys. One, how much time a day should a new loan officer put into positive content? And I define positive content is no news, and it's either personal growth or it's content that makes them a smarter loan officer. So positive content could be learning about guidelines. Positive content could be learning about selling more. Positive content could be pretty much anything in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So Gallegos, why don't you go first? How much time should a loan officer do on a weekly basis of personal training in their first year?
All of it. For the positive content is massively important, and we talk about it all the time. And what you're like, so there's so many. First of all, this community is great. Like the fact that it's on YouTube, you can stream while you're in your car. You can stream every one of these YouTube videos. So that's a positive deal. But every morning, I teach these guys a morning routine that includes, daily affirmations from Ninja Selling. I know you've interviewed Larry Kendall, and so just the process of what are the 5 things that you're going to do every morning before you get here that have to be part of your routine that become just a habit, and it becomes automatic to where this is a couple of my guys have shared stories about how they launched their career listening to some of the sales trainers that are out there driving to work, yelling, saying out loud as they can in the car, like, I'm a great loan officer. And Giuseppe shared that the other day about how when he first started that he was doing that stuff. Chris Hauber, same thing. All the books that they read, I'm a big Psycho-Cybernetics fan, which is just all about developing your self-image, which is just huge in this industry. In any sales job, I would guess. And so as far as learning guidelines, that first year, we buy the MRI guides, and I'm like, read a chapter every day. It doesn't take that long, and you should be an expert at how mortgages work if you're going to be guiding people on the path of getting one. So it's I don't know if I would say the first year is like, dude, you can't let up on this. Who spends more time than anybody on keeping updated of changes and guidelines and everything else? The top producers. That's who. They're reading them all the time. Like, what changed? What's the new program? How does it work? And the guys that aren't producing as much, like, what happened? And that's the difference, is that you've got to be, because the opportunity is so huge. So I think it's a never ending process, Dave. I don't know that I would, confine it to a year, but daily, every morning, daily, like personal development, positive influence, stay away from the news, and even stuff that isn't news. Like, don't even listen to sports talk radio. That's crap too. So just stay on the positive content.
So guys, my clear recommendation is your first year in the business, you got to double what you got to do for your whole career when it comes to positive content and prospecting. So your entire life in the business, you're going to have to do at least 2 hours of prospecting if you want to kill it and be elite. And for your first year, double it. And for your entire life as a high performing, be your best human being, I think you need to do an hour of consuming positive content, and maybe your first year, 2 hours. Now I do 2 hours because I'm ADD, and that's how I entertain, and I watch zero news. Sosi, what's your take on that? How much time in the Mortgage Coach community, and how much total time should new loan officers invest?
I don't know if I've ever quantified it to an exact rule book of time. I would say one of the real keys there too is to just be self-aware. Realize that within the first year, and I think an hour is a good rule, Dave. I think that's perfect. I think 2 hours is just going to be even more positive, all in light of how you're working. If you're not somebody who's waking up early and you're getting going at 9 o'clock and you're like, Dave told me 2 hours. Okay, well then you're not going to start squat until 11, and you only got an hour to win by noon. So you're screwed. So some of the things I would say is just be aware of who you are and what your personality is, and also be aware of context. I know for me, when I first came in the industry, I was listening to all these high producers and I just thought that they knew everything. And the more I've gotten to know high producers and even become that platform myself, I realize that that is far from the case, right? And to be able to know as a first year that this year is going to be really purpose for one thing, to grind like never before, just so I can make some momentum. I think that for me is super helpful. And if I can go back and tell myself something on year one, I would have said, just focus on grinding. Don't get distracted with numbers necessarily. Don't get distracted with doing all the things that you see people who've been in the industry 15 years already doing. Just freaking grind and find a mentor that can help make sure that as you're grinding, you're going down the path that's going to lead you where you want to be. Right. That's why I think the mortgage coach piece is so vital, because when you're listening to this positive content, you need to be able to have that source in, but then you also need to have that outlet. And if you don't have a mentor to help you with that outlet, you're just going to go shotgun all over the place and not grow as much as you can. And so I would say one of the biggest imperative for me is being self-aware and making sure you put some guides around you by having a mentor who can make sure to keep you on the path that you need to be on. Dave, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Great advice. I'm going to go to you, Alex, get your opinion on this, and then let's get into some specific scripts that new loan officers can do as mortgage coaches. You know, whether someone actually is a mortgage coach or not, we're going to assume they are. But let's get into some scripts and tactics. And Deborah, if you could be thinking of a couple social posts that if someone's new, I know right now you're creating that mortgage rock star post, and maybe we'll show that as a post that every new loan officer can send out. But think of like 2 or 3 post concepts so that everybody's going to get a script in a minute that they should use right now, and everybody's going to get a social media post as we wrap this up. So Alex, how much positive content for new LOs?
Oh man, it's hard to say. I would say an hour a day is not unrealistic. The very first thing I do is make people subscribe to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. I cannot even tell you how much money that channel has made me and how much I should be paying for a subscription. Between all the scripts, I think one of the things that it does in you, and I'm just kind of like had this little revelation while I'm hearing everybody talk right now, is that I think it builds faith in you. You know, it's like we all know the power of a testimony, you know, and I think that when you hear these other people, and I've always considered these people like legends, and now it's so humbling to be, you know, being interviewed on the Mortgage Coach channel, but you know, just watching what they're doing, hearing their stories, it's like, for some reason, it just simplifies it for you, you know, and I think the most important thing that it did with me is it's like, well, they're doing it and I can do it. You know, and I can't think of any other industry where everybody divulges their secrets, you know, where you have the best people giving away their secrets for free. And it just doesn't happen. You know, I've been in other industries before, and to be honest with you, it's a lot of it's not friendly unless you join like a buyer's group and you pay a heavy subscription to get around other people that you could roundtable with that aren't so insecure they can't share stuff with you. But yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know if you put a time limit on it, but I'd always just tell my new LOs 1 video. I have them start in you made a nice little section for new loan officers. I don't know on YouTube if you call it channels or whatever, but you have a nice playlist. I think it's a playlist that you have so I have them start there, and I just tell them to watch 1 a day. And so I think they're usually about 30 minutes to an hour. And I think that just builds your faith. Obviously it gives you practical tools too, and scripts and whatnot. But I just kind of had that revelation as Sosi was talking that, you know, maybe more than anything, what it does is just builds your faith through their testimonies. Hey, if they're doing it, I can do it, you know?
I love that. And I think that's good advice on your part. Guys, I do want to call out just 1 minute on the YouTube channel. You know, at the beginning of our channel, we've got some videos, and these are actual mortgage coaches creating videos for realtors. So great examples of how loan officers are taking and positioning themselves as a mortgage coach and a specific strategy in the market and creating content for agents. So that's what that is. This is some of the best interviews this year, and this one's going to make it already. This one is how top producers are using Mortgage Coach. So you get to, it's not click here, click there, it's scripts, it's positioning, Today's call will be in this category. It's a Tuesday interview. So think of it as sales leadership and inspiration. Every Friday, we're there to mastermind some of our all-time best mortgage strategies. And then towards the bottom, there's this new loan officer playlist. And I put this together if my kid was getting in the mortgage business, and I've had a lot of leaders whose kids got in the mortgage business. I tried to put it in an order that if they wanted to get their college degree in mortgage, so it's a lot of content, like probably as much content as a college degree in terms of hours of lecture, maybe more content than some college degrees. But if you watched all this content and you took notes and you put it in action, you've got a degree in mortgage. That's what I tried to create in that playlist. So make sure you guys are aware of it. So let's get into some specifics.
Hey, Dave, real quick, jump in.
Yeah.
Alex got me all inspired. Just to throw out a quick thought, if anybody hasn't been through Amplify, one of the things you should do within the first year is for sure get there. And anybody who has knows that Renee helps you have a mindset that when you're going to speak, when you're going to do something, you should be like a player on the sidelines at the edge of your seat, ready to go, right? There's never, hey, get in, and then a delay, because if you do, the coach is going to call on the next person. And so to amp yourself up as well, especially in the first year, is key. So many top producers I know, and a secret I got from one of them was watching motivational videos, even in the morning when you're trying to get your rear end out of bed or you're going into the office, right? And so in addition to the positive content and the good examples, being able to just have that music motivation from typing in motivational video on YouTube and watching something or listening to a motivational speech with really great amp music in the background, for me has helped me through some of the hardest times in my career. And it's helped me really push that next level and lets me get to the office going, all right, I'm freaking ready to take over the world. Let's do this. And that mindset is so imperative in the first year. If you are not in the game, you will lose.
Such a good point. And as we wrap this up, I'm actually going to show in the playbook, there's a resource center where not only mortgage coach resources, but Renee Rodriguez, Todd Duncan, Zenix, a lot of outside trainers and providers. There is a resource center in the playbook. So really good point, Sosi. So let's do some scripting and let's show a couple TCAs because I do think there's no better favor I can do for a new loan officer than making the habit of positive content so that you've got a way to constantly grow and keep yourself positive, but then talking to borrowers, delivering a total cost analysis. And I know if you do those two things, you are going to be 90% more likely to fast track your success than anyone who's not. So let's do the script, Dave, on a renter. What do you teach and train loan officers to say to a renter? And then Sosi or Alex, tell me which one of you guys has a rent versus own that we could show as Dave does the script.
Especially for younger people. So the renter, for younger loan officers getting in the business and they're talking to their friends that are renters. It's as simple as, you're talking to somebody who is a renter. It's like, so, and you don't even have to know, because a lot of times you don't know for sure if somebody owns a home. I've always said, we sell a product that everybody wants. If you're not a homeowner in America, you want to be. And so you just ask somebody, do you own a home? And they're like, no, but I want to. And then the question is a simple question. It's like, well, what's holding you back? And then, with a really important sales skill is obviously listening and not talking. And getting a loan officer to shut up is really a great skill, just to shut up and listen to the customer and listen and take notes so that you can figure out what it is that's holding them back. And that's it. It's as simple as like, well, let me show you what the effects of, and that's why I'd love to see one of these rent versus own. The effect of being a renter for an extended period of time is debilitating. And so I think it's as simple as asking that. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than, well, let me show you the long-term effects of what renting looks like and why I'm so excited to be in this business. Do you have a minute? And there you go. And I don't think it has to be any more complicated than that.
Love it. And then which one of you guys wants to add some color to that and show a rent versus own? Sosi or Alex? Who's got one?
I'll jump in.
Let's go.
Alex and I were talking on the chat. All right. So let me share my screen here.
And kind of speak to how you would speak to a renter as you're showing this to them.
Absolutely. You know, one of the tips I'll give here, guys, is if you have not read a book called Challenger Sale, please do so. This will be able to help you learn how to dive into hard topics, right? Like this, rent versus own, and help you learn how to navigate through the tension in a way that's going to help you win deals.
What's the
Even
book?
if they have a family member to do it. The Challenger Sale.
Challenge yourself. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a
And that's also
fantastic
in the
book.
resource playbook, guys. I give my top 10 books, and that is the #1 sales skill training book I know of. So,
Yeah.
but there's a link down below.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think one of the things that we forget is that when you hear the word sales, it's not over encompassing into every single type of industry. This is not cell phone sales. This is not watch sales where you're just trying to close the deal every single moment. This is eating an elephant where you're selling and having their commitment small steps at a time to be able to win the big deal overall. And so again, having that mentality of how to create tension in a really good way. Like for us, we go through a list of buyer disruptors, which means that we ask questions that throw them off their game, because in all reality, they think they know everything many times, especially, you know, millennial first-time home buyers who've done a lot of research on Google. And we're able to just ask them simple questions like, hey, have you ever compared 19% down versus 20% down? Did you know that usually the interest rate is better if you have mortgage insurance instead of not have mortgage insurance? Because obviously, who are you going to trust to drive your car? Somebody who's insured or not insured? Same concept with the investor. And so being able to create some tension where you get them into a stage of seeing you as a professional is so important. And when you get them onto a stage like here on the mortgage coach stage, here's where you get to help them go through all this and learn for themselves what they couldn't find on Google. And just as a spoiler alert, what that's called is empowerment. If you can empower your clients, you will be more valuable to them than any quick online research tool that they could possibly find. So empowering these guys is crucial. So as we go through this, this is a rent versus own that I did, showing somebody in addition the cost of waiting, right? Because it's not just rent now, it's also rent for the future. So somebody who's renting right now and who thinks, hey, you know what, I'm going to rent and I'm going to buy later. Here's kind of what we would do with them. As of August 5th, I saw the average house price in California was $683,996. The average interest rate at that point was 3.043. So someone who's renting, who's paying $2,500, going to a $3,378 monthly payment has a bit of a payment shock, right? And so this person is looking at this going, should I really do this? Is it worth the monthly sacrifice of cash flow that I'm going to be looking at? Well, that's where we go into the 5-year rent versus principal paid, right? You can either pay your landlord $150,000 in 5 years, or you can pay yourself $68,000. And usually at this point, you start seeing the jaws start to drop a little bit. And having the jaw drop in shock or in correction is important. But again, empowering is something different. So taking it from, oh my gosh, we're making such a crazy mistake paying somebody $150,000 to then helping them identify the win here. When you're paying yourself the $68,000 in principal loan, your principal is being coupled with appreciation. And when that happens, you win. So for example, here in 15 years, yeah, you can keep renting for 15 years. Your net worth in a home ownership is going to be zero. This initial investment of $81,000 and $3,300 a month, right, this here turns into $797,000 in 15 years. Being able to show them the goal, in my opinion, and showing them the motivation of the prize is extremely helpful when you're helping them go through the navigation of, oh my gosh, maybe I don't understand everything correctly, and then show them why it's okay to do what's uncomfortable. And so that's the first basics of the rent versus own. This is what really seals it, in my opinion, on the next steps. And this is what really helps somebody not just go, okay, for the moment, I'm going to tell you yes, but this is going to be someone who goes, I think home ownership is the right thing. And now they shift to going, holy crap, if I don't get a house, I am going to lose big time. Because when you show them what at least some of the home surveys are showing, in 2022, homes are estimated to be appreciated, and we've seen articles even yesterday that show a lot higher than this now, but 5.12%. That means that this house at 683 would be 719. Let's say rates go up by 1/8, which we all have seen that they're probably going to go up a lot higher than that. And obviously there's other things to discuss within the next 12 months, but let's just say 1/8. Payment is now $35. Let's say in 2023, again, home appreciation. Now we start having a cooled off market, $745, rate is 3.293, still another 1/8, $37.74. Well, Sosi, what about the year after? At that point, they'll have 20% down, right? This is a common objection you would hear from a buyer. $772 would be the purchase price of the house that they could have bought today for $683. And even with 20% down now, their payment is $3611, and they're bringing another $80-something thousand out of pocket. In addition, they now have to make more income to be able to qualify for this house, and now have a rate, best case scenario, 3.419. Right? So at this point, you've done a couple things. You've clarified for the renter that this is a good investment, even though the mental receptors in their mind, when they see a higher payment, they go, survival mode, I don't want to do that. That's trouble. You clarify that trouble is not actually trouble. That's a means of success. And then you show them that the real trouble they should avoid is delaying the decision and making it sooner, because that's where the true savings are going to be.
So boom, guys, if you're a new loan officer and you could have this, we're going to call it the rent versus own cost of waiting analysis, you are going to look smarter and be smarter than 90% of loan officers in America. And so you're going to have an advantage. And guys, every new loan officer watching this, you could master this conversation with about 3 hours of work. And I want to remind you guys, we do live training every day at Mortgage Coach. So our Wednesday black belt training at 11 Pacific, we would train on this. Our Thursday Q&A training at 9 o'clock Pacific, we would train you on this. So if you don't know how to do it in terms of just click here, click there, input here, we do live training. And then in terms of the scripting and the sales strategy, just replay what you just heard. And we can create more content around that. But guys, this is pure gold. Hey, Deborah, I know you're really good at one-to-many. Like, okay, let's say a loan officer got good at that, and now they're calling their 100, their 300 people, and the people they know are renting and having this conversation. How can they take this one-to-many and do a social media content? Give us a couple social media posts. You're on mute.
That's what I was going to share, is the only step that I saw missing in the new loan officer playbook is the marketing and branding piece, where there is no excuse for any new loan officer out there who may not even have their own TCA to create. And I shared this before, where I ripped off and duplicated Alex Cook's single mom refinance TCA. When you watch Mortgage Coach on YouTube, all you have to do, again, fake it till you make it. You create the same TCA where you're showcasing the problems you solve for people. That's it. You're not selling. You're showing how you're a solutionist and how there could be somebody out there on social, in your social sphere, that if you go one-to-many, okay, which one little tip I would recommend is get a free account with StreamYard.com, okay? You can even pre-record videos. StreamYard allows you to connect all your social destinations that you want, including a Facebook group, which we can talk about, a Facebook page, a profile, LinkedIn, YouTube. And you can one-time this action where you go one-to-many, where you can pre-record your TCA video and pretend like you're even going live if you're too scared to go live at first, because you may need coaching with that. But you take exactly what you just saw and you package it into a client story, and you follow the Renee Rodriguez sequence of communication. What's your intro, your frame? What was the client's problem? The message is how the TCA, and how the TCA makes you look like a rock star, by the way, solved the problem. And then the tie down, make sure, don't get scared at the tie down piece. This is important. I share this with you all because you may be a single mom out there who may thought your problem was, how do I just get $5,000 out of this cash out refinance to do some renovations? What my job is to help you with paying off some higher interest debt, whatever the solution was with the TCA, how we could pay off this much of higher interest debt. We free up $900 a month of cash flow, which now gave her $500 extra to spend, $5,000 in renovations, and $78,000 in net worth, when she never once had even thought about the real problem of not having a retirement plan. And now we just grew her net worth. So package exactly what you saw into a client story where it's emotional. People are drawn to emotion, which is why it's critical. And the framing of the intro is, what is the problem, and what is the problem that the client doesn't even realize is the problem? And then be the rock star. It doesn't even have to be real. Again, you're just projecting your future self and where you want to help people. They need to know where to get good advice. So get good and commit right now. Commit to you doing a TCA Tuesday live or pre-recorded every single Tuesday. Like, there is zero like, this is a standard of being a loan officer. And I have loan officers that I help with that are the best of the best, that are even committing to doing this 2 or 3 times a week, packaging it a little bit differently. And then I have loan officers I work with that, you know, they haven't bought into the video content yet, or even maybe how to use TCAs. They're not using TCAs. So you could be a brand new loan officer and kill it, to the loan officers who've been doing it for 20 years that don't understand that there's a financial crisis and that we need to showcase those solutions and provide education. And you could do more than they do. So don't believe in the limiting beliefs of, you know, it's going to take me this. It may not. If you execute one to many and you adopt TCAs and you show how you think differently, your time compression just went to here.
So we got 3 minutes left. One, I just put a link to Alex, the single mom refi, where Alex did a 2-minute, 1-minute video at his desk with nothing but a phone and his desk that generated a bunch of refi leads. By the way, this is still on point, even though rates have gone up. There's still a play for this post. Sosi, I would love for you and Deborah maybe to collaborate on a post that they could use, that refi total cost post, and next week get something in our group. Deborah, would you, whether it's Sosi's idea, would you just own getting that strategy in a post in our group by next week?
Yep.
And then check out this refi. And then another post, guys, the Modern Real Estate Summit is next Wednesday. And one of the cool things that Deborah's doing, first of all, her and I collaborated on this playbook. So there's a LinkedIn playbook showing you how to make the most of that event. But every one of you on this call could have your picture as though this is your event. Like literally these, Ryan Serhant is the most well-known realtor in America. Every realtor around here is doing over 100 million, and among the best, this guy right here, Jason, is the number one real estate agent in America. And your picture could be right here, and that could be a social media post. And Deborah's doing that. Again, you've got to have at least a few tickets to the Modern Real Estate Summit and be promoting it to agents, but that's another post that you guys can get. So guys, let's close this out. I'm going to go around the room, try not to go for more than a minute so we can wrap this up within 3 minutes. Dave Gallegos, 1 minute. What are your closing thoughts for any new loan officers or mentors of new loan officers watching this call?
It's just such an amazing career opportunity. And so knowing what the potential is, I just go all in is my advice to anybody, is just go all in. Like, you become, how good should you be at a job where you can make high 6-figure, 7-figure incomes? You should be really good. And so that just means you need to invest in yourself so that you can serve people at the highest possible level. And the payoff is massive.
Love it. Sosi, closing thoughts.
Yeah, the thing I would share is that I've never heard a child say that I want to grow up and be a loan officer. And I think that's because typically there's really only been one path you could take, and it's all about being the boilerplate salesperson. What Mortgage Coach, what the Modern Mortgage Summit, what so many other individuals today who are really good people that wanted to change and put a second path have done is create something new for all of us to be able to walk down. And so when you look at Mortgage Coach and you look at these scripts to help you provide more value, realize this is only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more opportunity we have as loan officers here to be able to change not just somebody's future, but the future of their children. And so I would just encourage you, take a lot of pride in the career you've now chosen to be in, find really great mentorship, and expose yourself to a level of thought of seeing this more than just transactions and seeing this as an opportunity to change people for the better, just like Alex did with the single mother.
Love it. Alex, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. This is number 7, the final one out of my top 7 things for new LOs, is to know the opportunity that is right in front of you. If somebody came to you and said, hey, listen, I have a job where you have an unlimited ceiling, which is one of my biggest pet peeves about my previous jobs that I had, there was always a ceiling. Ceiling meaning like, I have to become manager and you can only make so much money. And now I need to go back to school and do this. There is absolutely no ceiling except what you can mentally ascend to and believe in yourself. You can have unlimited freedom as far, some weekends, if you don't have your team built out enough, it doesn't seem like you have freedom because you're on the phone with realtors and people making offers, but that's an awesome opportunity too. But to work from anywhere, to literally work from anywhere, originate from a beach, go on vacation, spend time with your family. And then the biggest thing is to change lives. I know we keep talking about the single mom refi. That was the moment where I literally started tearing up when I hung up the phone. You can tell by what I'm wearing in the video. I didn't go home and put up, makeup on and get dressed up for the video. I just said, I have to shoot a video of that because how I feel inside right now. And it was like, that was the moment where I felt like God really confirmed that that this was something that he led me to, that really checked all the boxes in my heart of who Alex Cook was made to be. And so that's just, if you can't get excited about that, then I don't know how to help you. All of those 3 things. So
Right on, dude. That's cool.
That is powerful. And hopefully people can just feel the emotion in that. I've put a few links down below. There's a link to Sosi's cost of waiting analysis, both in our Facebook group. I will make sure that's also in LinkedIn and Zoom, guys. There's a link to that down below. Deborah, any closing thoughts for you?
Yeah, just, if you're a new loan officer, I think the reality of, smell the blood in the water right now. There's some mega top producers, and I know because I work with them, whose service has struggled in the last year. They're not as quick at getting pre-approvals out. All their past clients they've ever helped were wanting to refinance at the same time of them executing at the high level that they already were, where service has slipped. So if you're a new LO, that is like blood in the water where you could go acquire and take those relationships from those mega producers. And the best entry for that right now that you could take action right now is to get a custom invitation. You can literally email me for free. Send me your headshot. If you send an email to info@plugandplaysm.com, we will literally make you look like the rock star. And you send out and spread the word to get everybody to come to your office, open house style on November 3rd, host the Modern Real Estate Summit. Okay, so make sure you buy a few tickets that you can hand out even to title reps, and start smelling the blood in the water and start taking those relationships from those who, they're not real happy with their current lender. So go get it, take action.
Yeah. And remember, guys, you need to get smart. The smarter you get, the more confident you get, the better you'll show up. So for every new loan officer out there, highly recommend, if you didn't watch the Modern Mortgage Summit, it's not too late. Check that out. It's available for a year. And the Modern Real Estate Summit, which is the same format, micro content, virtual event, but top realtors. And I do love Deborah's idea of watching it with agents, but even if you can't get agents to watch it, consume it, get yourself to be an expert, and you will have an advantage out of 9 or 10 of every loan officer in your market. You'll be in the top 10% because most loan officers aren't doing what we're talking about. So guys, thank you so much for making time to come in and spend an hour and 5 minutes. Everyone listening, hopefully you got a lot of value. Put your questions down below. If you're watching the recording of this and you have a question, we'll get it answered. And I hope this added a lot of value to everybody. And thanks, Sosi, Dave, Alex, and Deborah. Take care, you guys.
Great one, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good
Have a
one.
great day, everybody.